Good morning. Um, Very disappointing loss last week. When you look at the opportunities that we've had the latter part of the season to try to stay in this hunt, it's disappointing how we came out and responded and just looked flat. And I really put a lot of that back on me from a standpoint of getting these guys prepared and ready to play. I have to do a much better job, number one, putting these guys in position to be successful. And when we are in position, we've got to make sure that we finish and execute. We didn't make enough plays. The previous week, we found ourselves being able to get off the field on third down in the red zone, hold our opponent to field goals. And that was the exact difference this past week. A lot of credit to them. They did a tremendous job and just really outplaying us. So we talked about a few things. We evaluated the tape, made some corrections. Pinpointing some things that we need to correct, and moving forward, we got to make sure that we're ready this week. We're going to see pretty much schematically the same offense with what we had last week and some of the things they're doing with the zone read. So with that, I'll take your questions.
What are you doing to try to pick the guys sort of chins up off the ground after that performance and get them ready for another?
Well, Mary Kay is short-term memory in this league. You got to get ready for the next one, win or lose. You got to prepare yourself as professionals, and that starts with us as coaches to be able to get these guys back. And that's been our approach, and really trying to have a solid game plan and trying to detail the things that we need to, once again, to put these guys in position to be successful.
Do you have an explanation for why the guys would come out flat?
Not really. And again, you go back and you try to evaluate your process throughout the week, leading up to your preparation, going out there 2 days ahead of time. You try to look and question certain things. The bottom line is we got to go out and perform. And again, as I said before, I have to put these guys in position to be successful. I know right now the Ravens are coming in, and they're going to have the same up-tempo offense, and we got to make sure that we're prepared and ready.
Do you have any of those fiery leaders on your defense that can help? I know it's part coaching, but a lot of times you'll see an inspirational defensive player that gets everybody fired up. Do you have enough of those guys?
You're always looking for those guys to be able to extend the message once the coaches aren't around, particularly amongst the players in the locker room and throughout the game. When difficult situations arise, you want those guys to be able to step up and be leaders. So, you're looking for those guys. T.J. Curry was a guy that stepped up last week, when things was going on in practice. But we're missing, Christian Kersey. We're missing Miles, those kind of things. But we can't sit here and complain and worry about that. They're not coming back this year. So we have to find ways as coaches and as players to try to weather through this storm and find a way out of it.
In terms of Lamar Jackson's mobility, how different is it planning to try to contain him without Myles Garrett than it was when you had that kind of athlete to help chase him around?
It's going to be a complete team effort, particularly up front. Again, just trying to contain him, cage him, eliminate the A and B gaps where really much he likes to try to escape. We got to make sure that we try to flush him lateral, going east and west, and then try to get population to the ball. That's going to be the key.
Relative to containing Jackson against Kyler Murray, he had been sacked a bunch in recent, I think, 15 times over the previous 5 games. And your guys weren't around him a lot, it seemed, in that game. Is it one of those what happened questions that you can answer and address, or why did it happen that you
Well,
weren't around?
I don't really have the pinpoint answer for you. I would say there's several times, as you can see, I think it was Justin Burris on pressure. We missed him. I think Matt came off the edge one time. We missed him. So we had certain guys in his face. Again, we just got to make sure that we gather at the sack with these fast guys at the quarterback position who really are like running backs. You can't be out of control when you're approaching them and when you're ready to finish the tackle. So I think it's just more. I think it's more or less right there. It's just really trying to get ourselves in position to finish.
You have trouble simulating the speed in practice?
And I knew we talked about this last week. I really don't think you can really simulate that based off anybody that you have. I mean, you try to, but again, once you get in the game, it's a total different look. You just want to make sure that your guys are playing at a top end speed, so they can be able to adjust quickly.
It looked to me like what Kenyon Drake did was just like what Joe Mixon did the week before, and like you guys. Do you have to get off blocks better, and how do you get them to do that? It looked like you had just free room to roam.
I agree, and number one is getting off blocks. We got to do a much better job of really playing with our hands, shedding blocks, staying in our gaps, trusting in the man beside us that's going to stay in his gap. So a lot of it's discipline, all right, and then of course it comes down to just complete execution.
And then so. Do they run the same kind of style? I mean, can you see Ingram doing the same thing?
I think it's going to be pretty much a lot of the same stuff that we saw this past week. So if any benefit from it, I think that may be the only one based off how we perform. But we got to make sure, as we already started, pinpointing those corrections.
Do you think it was more of a, you talk about getting off blocks. Do you think it was more of a execution as far, or do you have to tweak the scheme a lot given how they execute?
No, I don't think it's really trying to tweak it at all. I think it's just more on our end, just really trying to understand these offenses this week as well as last week is about trying to get to the perimeter. All right, we got to do a great job of really trying to leverage the formation. They try to make you be undisciplined with your eyes by sending motion in different things, different ways to try to get you out leverage. So again, it's just being smart, having great eye discipline, and setting edges on the defense.
You wanted from your guys?
I have no doubt that there was speculation and question that the guys quit. I didn't see that. Did we execute? No. We didn't quit. We got to do a much better job of executing and doing the little things right, as I've seen us do before.
The game was the pass into the end zone that Kingsbury challenged. What do you say to Randall about that play? Is there anything he should have done differently?
I don't really look at the ruling on the field. There's nothing we can do about that. My focus is really trying to, take that play and then try to dissect it to the point of what we need to do. I thought Randall was in great position. We just need to try to find and locate the ball, and then as the receiver puts his hands up, is what we call trying to rake through his arms and compete and go down to the ground. I still felt like we had a chance to get the ball out if we would have went down to the ground with him in that situation, if he would have, catching the ball. But I don't think, in my opinion, that the call itself was somewhat maybe questionable in some eyes, but it's nothing that we can do about that call. And it's the exact same thing with, red wine in the end zone, just really trying to compete and rake the arms there as well. So we just got to execute our technique when we're in position.
You don't want to use anything as an excuse, but you spent a large chunk of the season without your two starting cornerbacks in Denzel and Greedy, and then you get those guys back, and now very large chunk of the season without your two starting ends in Miles and Olivier. So it's not like you've really had a chance to put this whole defense together and see what it's capable of. For that reason, do you feel like, even though it seems bleak right now, the future is still bright for this defense?
I do. I really feel like, we have lost a lot. We have been missing a couple of guys throughout the year. I felt like the guys have stepped up and, tried to make the best of it. When you talked about our corners being out early and TJ as well as, Terrence Mitchell stepping up and performing well. Right now is our defensive line, and there's nothing, again, that we can do about that. We got to get guys to, fill the void. But as you talked about the future being bright, you look at the quality of reps and the playing time that some of these young guys are getting in Greedy, Red Wine, Mac, Wilson, as well as Taki. So I think it's only going to help these guys moving forward. So if it's any good thing coming out of that, it's that these guys are getting quality looks and reps.
A guy like Kirksey, who's been out for so long, we see him around all the time. He's on the road. How much can he help guys, or can you help guys at all when you're not playing?
You can, and he's trying to fill that void. I think Christian is trying to fill that void as much as possible for still being that leader, that vocal guy that we talked about, that inspirational guy. We definitely miss him out there. He was playing well before he went out, and again, just that that emotional guy that you need out there on the field and in the locker room. That's the one that we're missing, yes.
For a perspective as a guy who was a head coach at this time last year, heading into an end of the season, you know, I was just looking at some of your results from the end of last season. You got your guys to play, would appear, against Seattle in your last game. But how tough is it when the bubbles burst and the playoffs aren't realistic to keep the team together? And how together are the Browns right now in terms of having a chance to win either of the last two games?
I think we're together without a doubt. I think the guys are still playing hard. I think that nucleus is still trying to push forward. I think Freddie is doing a tremendous job in really trying to continue to echo the message that he's been sending all year. 1-0. And it's all about the game that's in front of us. And I agree. As men, players and coaches, it's about trying to compete, and regardless of the situation, playoffs or not, it's about going out there and performing well. It's the name on the front of the jersey as Cleveland Browns, and most important is the name on the back. So that's what we represent, and we're going to try to do everything we can, all right, to win this football game and, try to finish strong. That's our mindset.
You appeal to your guys on like a face-to-face basis and say, look, we've got to bring it, whatever our situation is right now.
You have to. And, again, regardless of the situation, it's about going out there trying to put your best foot forward. And I think you're going to see that this week. These guys are going to respond in the right way.
Run offense like they do, right? It's 200 yards a game or whatever it is. Do you face the decision of we have to sell out to stop the run, and we might leave ourselves vulnerable to some of those deep shots that Lamar's been taking? Is that just a choice that you're faced with?
Well, I think number one, that your priority has to be stopping the run. So whatever you have to do in regards to that, from a standpoint of stacking the box, playing coverage, whether it's man or zone, whatever your philosophy may be, I feel very confident in our ability to cover on the outside. So if we have to do that with Greedy as well as Denzel, I'm very confident those guys will get the job done.
How has Lamar changed since week 4? I mean, since then they've gone on this run, and he's become like the no doubt MVP. And I don't think we were saying that back when you saw him the first time.
Well, I think number one, they continue to gel, and they're all on the same page. And you can see a lot hasn't changed in the scheme that they're doing. They're just executing, and they're putting themselves in position to be successful. They're making plays when they have to.
You really downplayed the emotion of going back to Arizona, but was that game any more harder for you to put in your rearview mirror?
No, as I stated going into it, I wanted to win that game as much as I wanted to win the previous one, as well as the first one. So, is it disappointing? Yes, it's disappointing because, as I stated before the press conference here, is that we have an opportunity still to be in the hunt, and to lose that one, it sort of hurt a little bit because now we're looking for outside help. So we just got to continue to take care of what's in front of us right now, which is the Ravens.